Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I'm going to be making a banana coconut loaf. My intention actually, if I have enough ingredients, is to make a double batch so I can make 2 loaves. And what you need for this recipe is you need eggs. So if I'm doing a double batch, I'll need 4, 2 cups of sugar, a cup of melted margarine or butter in this case, 2 cups of mashed ripe bananas, some almond flavoring, and some all-purpose flour, some medium grind coconut. It doesn't specify whether sweetened or unsweetened. I do have some sweetened and a little bit of unsweetened. It's a half a cup, so if I'm doing a double batch, I'll need 1 cup. I'm hoping that what I have left of the sweetened is enough for 1 cup. Baking powder, baking soda, salt, chopped walnuts, and maraschino cherries cut up. So I'm going to get started on this. As I said, I am doing a double batch. That's my intention. I did get a bunch of bananas last week for 33 cents a pound at Superstore. That is only part of them. There's another bag that I haven't even touched yet. So I'm going to get busy on that. I do have something in particular that I'm baking for next week, so I'm going to get this done now and get at least 1 loaf into the freezer, and then I'll keep 1 out for us to eat as a family. But I'm just going to get you set up on the tripod and then we'll get started. Be right back. Okay, so my first step, oops, I'm going to turn you a little bit here. My first step is going to be to get the bananas mashed. If I am doing a double batch, that means I need to get 2 cups mashed. I'm not sure how many that'll take. It says 1 cup is 3 medium, but I'm not really sure. We'll have to, whoops, see how it goes. Depends on the size. I mean, medium size banana, I guess that's kind of relative, isn't it? I've got a bird sitting on the arm of the couch in the next room watching me from here. She tends to like to be up on the kitchen counter, but I don't want her to be when I'm cooking, obviously. So if she flies in here, she probably won't make it to the counter. She'll only make it to the floor, but I'm not going to be letting her up here because obviously it's not sanitary. I've got food all over the place. I can't have her up here right now. But she does like to follow me around and be a part of whatever I'm doing. So, it is currently Tuesday afternoon here. It's actually already after 4. I should have got started on this long ago today. Didn't sleep the greatest last night. I often have trouble sleeping. And ended up taking a bit of a nap this morning. Put a chicken in the crock pot to cook for supper. I made a spice rub for that, just out of chili powder, garlic powders, pepper, chili powder, garlic powder, pepper, paprika, some roasted red pepper spice, and some cake chicken and rib spice. So that's cooking in the background on low in the crock pot. And once I got that on to cook, I drove my daughter to work. And I stopped at the auto insurance place. We've changed our bank accounts over recently, and I needed to set up the payments to come out of my new account. So that didn't take long, thankfully. It was a very easy, painless process, but oops. And I gotta mash it in the bowl first. I guess I could mash it in the cup, but this is what happens when I try to do more than one thing at once. Usually I can multitask no problem, but today apparently not so much. So, got the auto insurance payment set up from the new account. That is done. And then came home, and I should have started on this sooner, but I was tired. So I just sat on the couch and I just couldn't make myself move. There's a bunch of things I need to be doing, and this is one of them. And I just couldn't seem to get myself together. So I'm finally forcing myself to get this done. Supper is underway because the chicken is in the crock pot, so that's fine. Don't know exactly what we'll have with it, but even if just make a box of mac and cheese even would be totally fine. Or cook up some mini potatoes or something. Those are easy because they don't require any peeling. You can just cut them in half and boil them, or boil them whole. We'll see. I guess about the 1 cup mark, or maybe a bit more. So part of what I'm doing this baking for is I had an uncle in my life growing up, actually until about 8 years ago when he passed away. I can't believe it's been 8 years, but he was like a second dad to me. And he was a World War II veteran, and then he went on after the war to become a firefighter and eventually became a deputy fire chief until he retired and retired out to a different province where he lived until he passed away in 2013. But this uncle was like a second dad to me, and he always treated me like I was his own, even though I was only his uncle, or I was only his niece by marriage, a marriage which actually ended. But yet he still maintained that family relationship with me and treated me like a daughter. And so losing him in 2013 when he was 98, I mean, he lived a good long life, but it was a big loss because I'd already lost my actual dad when I was 14. So losing him too was quite another blow. And I have decided that a couple times a year, to honor his memory and to keep me from being too sad on certain days, I will take baking to the 2 fire halls closest to our house in his memory. And I always go and I explain the story. I usually take a couple jars of my homemade jam too, and I explain why I'm there, and that my uncle was a deputy fire chief. He passed away, and I'm doing this in his memory. I usually go on Christmas Eve, and this year I went Easter weekend, and I also go on his birthday, which is August 17th. So that's coming up next week. So I'm gearing up because I do have to work a few days coming up. So I'll be busy. So I'm trying to get a little bit of baking done now so that when the time comes, I can put some baskets together with some muffins or cookies and some loaves and deliver them. And I take them to the 2 fire halls closest to us. There's several here in the city, but I go to the ones in my neighborhood. And I've been doing this the last few years, so any of the firefighters that are there, that have been there for any amount of time, they know the story, they remember us. Some of the newer fellows that are there don't remember us necessarily, because if they're brand new there, they wouldn't have known the story. But they always seem quite interested in the story when I go. And I've made up little cards to take with his picture on them, and saying that he was a World War II veteran and a deputy fire chief as well. So, you know, he was a deputy fire chief, so I'm taking and giving back to these firemen that do the job that he did. You know, he put his life on the line being in the war and as a fire chief. And these gentlemen and ladies, firefighters, also put their lives on the line every day for us. So this is my way of thanking them, since I can no longer do for my uncle. This is my way of giving back by thanking those that serve every day and put their lives on the line to keep us safe, just like my uncle did. So that's part of why I'm baking. I don't have to, this is something I choose to do, but my date to deliver is the 17th, which is next Tuesday. So like I said, one of these loaves will stay out to be eaten by the family, and the rest will go in the freezer, and then I'll pull them all out on Monday night and cut everything up Tuesday morning and assemble the baskets to deliver over there. Okay, this should be enough. I don't even know, I lost count if that was 5 or 6 bananas. I think that was at least 5. But this should have me at the 2 cup mark. This is actually a 2.5 cup measuring cup. And some of the lines are faded, but I've actually marked on here with a marker where the 2 and 2.5 cup marks are, so I know. Yeah, I'm at the 2 cup mark, so that's good. Okay, so I'm gonna set that aside for now. Okay, so it says break eggs in mixing bowl, beat until light and frothy. Okay, I guess I better do that. Guess I got a little bit ahead of myself. I don't need the bananas just yet. So, if I need the eggs, I'm gonna need 4. And my garbage bag is already quite full over there. It needs to be emptied, but that's okay. Let's get these eggs started. Need 4. Yeah. I got a little piece of shell. Of course I did. Does anybody know a trick to not using a piece of shell in there? There we go. get bits of shell in there, but every once in a while you get this random tiny piece. It's like impossible to get out. Wait, I'll just throw those in the garbage as it grows bigger, rather than go back and forth. Has a piece of shell or not. I don't think it is. No, it's fine. And then I still have to melt my butter. So, alright. So this says to beat the egg, break the eggs, beat them until light and frothy. And then it says add sugar and melted butter. So that means I need to get busy and melt the butter. So these sticks of butter are obviously not room temperature. Some recipes call for softened butter. So I wouldn't normally take these directly from the fridge, but this one calls for melted butter, so no big deal. We can start out cold. I'll just melt it. Might take me a minute or so to get this melted, but it's okay. My sugar out. It says 1 cup of sugar, but I'm doing a double batch, so I'm going to need to get 2. See how much this is. Not quite. My mixing bowl on the counter. That's not enough. And have my crock pot going too. I feel like I'm cutting into my workspace a little bit. That's okay. And level this up. Okay. 1. And two cups. All right. Where am I at here? I have 2 cups of sugar. Now let me see if my butter, can't talk, see if my butter is melted. Should be. Oh yeah, it's pretty good. All right, so 2 sticks of butter melted. And it says, add sugar, melted butter, beat well. And then it says to stir in the mashed banana and flavoring. So that would be my almond, I guess. Along just fine. Okay, so we're going to add the 2 cups of banana. Messy stuff, isn't it? Just a little bit there. Probably just get a spoon out. But, there, that's what's after. Okay, almond flavoring. half a teaspoon, which means I need a teaspoon. I feel like I lost a couple drops there. That's too much. There. Someone wants to run down the side of the bottle. That's not very helpful. Okay. Then it says in another bowl, mix remaining ingredients. If you remember from my last baking video, I usually don't do a separate bowl, but I think maybe this time I will, just because it does say to. And you know, there probably are some baking purists on here that probably be like, no, you must do the dry ingredients separate. So, okay. That's what I'll leave it like that. I'm just gonna push it back out of the way for now, because I'm gonna have another bowl on the go here. Oh, it's got a little bit more banana there. I feel like I just dropped something. I need 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, which means I need 3 cups. The only time-consuming part to this is going to be having to chop up the maraschino cherries. That's going to be the time-consuming part. That's okay. I might stop this temporarily and do that just so that I don't bore the heck out of you watching all that. So because I'm doing a double batch, I'm not going to do 1.5 cups of flour. I'm doing 3 cups. Yeah, I've got a 10-kilogram bag over here, so it's heavy. Dragging it across the floor. I'm honestly surprised that Ruby is as quiet as she is. She's still sitting on the arm of the couch just watching me, and she's not squawking. And she's not trying to slide in here either. I'm surprised. She's being extremely well behaved for being left unattended out there. So 2 cups and then 3. One. Pull that off. Okay, that's good. All right. Now we need 1/2 cup of coconut, but because I'm doubling it, I need a cup. So I'm hoping that this is a cup here, or close to it. If it's not, I can get some unsweetened and top it up. It should be close though. Not quite, but it's also not quite out of the bag yet. It's more like 3/4 of a cup. I'm gonna check downstairs and see if I have any more sweetened coconut in another small bag, and if not, I'll top it up with unsweetened, but it should be okay. The majority of it is sweetened, or I could probably get by with a smidge less coconut. It's probably not one of those things that's mandatory. Oh yes, and of course I do have to chop the walnuts too, as well as cut up the maraschino cherries. Okay, so 1/2 teaspoon baking soda and baking powder and salt. So that means a teaspoon of each. This baking soda is getting low. Thankfully, I have another container downstairs for next time because this is getting low. So a teaspoon of that, a teaspoon of baking powder. And a teaspoon of salt. Keep over there. nut grinder that I showed you in my last baking video. I need a cup of walnuts because it says half a cup for a single recipe, so I'm doing a double. I need another 1 cup measuring cup. There's walnuts right there. Okay, I need to make room to work. Move my coconut off to the side a little. You guys, it has been really, really hot here all summer. I live in Manitoba, Canada. We've basically been in drought conditions all summer. No rain. And yesterday I finally got rain, and it was all day, which was fine, except that when we get a downpour or a really steady all-day rain with no break, then one corner of my basement always gets water, always gets seepage. So I was up stupid late last night, continually replacing towels on that corner, sopping up water. And as soon as one towel desaturated, put it down another one, and then so on and so on. And then, of course, after that, that meant I had a load of laundry to wash because all these towels are now musty and wet and soaking. So I was up late doing that, and then add to that the fact that I always have chronic insomnia anyway, so here I was, I probably would have been awake anyway. And then as I was doing the load of laundry to wash the towels, there was about 5, 6, 7 minutes left on the timer on the washing machine, and the power went out. So the washing machine stopped with the towels and some water still in it. Thankfully the power was not out very long, but it came back on, and I couldn't very well throw those towels in the dryer because they still had water in them. So I restarted the washer, which meant the washer refilled again, and I was just hoping and praying that the sensors would tell it when to stop filling with water because there already was some water in there. And thankfully the sensors did tell it to stop, and it stopped without overflowing, thank heavens. Then I had to wait up for the washer to finish for a second time so I could get the load in the dryer for the night. And yeah, I had to run that load in the dryer more than once because I still think there was still a little bit of water left. The towel still felt a little bit heavy when I put them in the dryer. So, and it was a big load. There was multiple towels. So I've had to run the dryer more than once to make sure that they actually thoroughly dry out. So, okay, let's see. This should be a cup of walnuts, I'm hoping. And then I'm moving on to the maraschino cherries, and then I'll have to see if I have any more coconut downstairs that is sweetened, or else just use the unsweetened to top it up. Okay, pretty close to a cup. I'd say that's pretty good because the walnuts, the nuts are optional anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna put that in there. Really should have put my hair up for this because I'm getting warm working in my kitchen. The rain really didn't cool things down that much. It's still quite a hot summer day. We've got our dry ingredients so far. That's where we're at. Just gotta do cherries now. And that, I need a cup as well because it would be half a cup, but because I'm doubling it, I need a cup of those. So for that, I'm gonna grab a cutting board. Alright, cutting board, and a knife. I'm going to start out with, and let's see how fast I can get this done. I do have more cherries if this jar ends up not being enough. And again, if I'm a bit shy of a cup, it probably is okay. It probably doesn't have to be a full cup precisely, but you know, when it comes to baking, I do tend to try and be as precise as I can. I often feel like you don't have a lot of forgiveness as far as ways to deviate in baking or to experiment. Cooking, it seems like you can experiment or change quantities or play around a little bit, but baking, it always feels like you have to kind of stick right to the recipe. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but it's probably just more a confidence thing on my part than anything. Try and get these cut up. This is the slow going part. I do this every year around Christmas when I do my shortbread cookies with the cherry in the middle too. This is the tedious part, is getting these cut up. These don't have to probably be cut small because this is a loaf. It's not not like they need to be tiny. And when they go in the mixing bowl, the beater might break things up a bit more anyway. So for now, I'm mostly just halving them, or maybe quartering at most. Some of the cherries aren't that big to start with. And what I've noticed the last couple of years is when I do my shortbread cookies at Christmas, I like to do some with red cherries in the middle and some with green cherries. And the last couple of years, I have not been able to find the green maraschino cherries anywhere. I don't know if they just don't make those anymore or what the deal is, but okay. I'm almost out of cherries from this jar. I am not done. Probably end up using this up and then have to open the other jar. I think so. Yeah, I think that's all that's in there. And that is okay. It says to put these in with the dry ingredients, so I guess that's what we're doing. And then we will add that all, well, the coconut too, all to the wet ingredients. Mix it up and get them in the pans, since I'm doing 2, and into the oven. I haven't preheated the oven yet. I have frying pans and stuff in there I have to take out, so I have to stop and do that yet. This isn't quite a cup, not even close. We're like, yeah. We're gonna be opening the new jar. Okay, that's fine. And my fingers are getting red from doing this, but that's fine too. So it's the cutting board, mind you. Oh, the juice is spilling. That's okay. As long as it doesn't run off the cutting board onto the floor, I'll be okay. Keep an eye on that. Ah, it's splashing me. Okay, let's see how far we are here. See how far these guys get us. These ones seem to be a little larger than the other ones. So I think the nuts definitely are optional in this. These, you know, I mean, it does call for coconut and cherries, so I definitely wouldn't omit these. The nuts, I would imagine, are probably optional, like they typically are in any cookie or loaf recipe. These, though, I would not skip. If I was skipping the coconut and the maraschino cherries too, then you're basically just making a regular banana bread, which is fine. I do like to make regular banana bread, and sometimes I make that with chocolate chips. Sometimes I make it with walnuts. Sometimes I make it with chocolate chips and walnuts, or sometimes just plain. So it depends. But yeah, I think the nuts in this recipe are probably optional, but you certainly can't skip the coconut and cherries because that's what makes this banana coconut loaf. So yeah, I wouldn't want to skimp on the coconut quantity because it is a banana coconut loaf. So if I do stick with what I have there, which is not a full cup, that will detract from the flavor a little bit. Because that's one of the key ingredients that does help with the flavor of this recipe and the texture. Just about done. Not quite a cup yet, but almost. Maybe 2 or 3 more cherries still. And then I will pause this while I run downstairs to get some more coconut. And then that should be fine. A couple more of these guys. My fingers are getting sticky. Yuck. That's okay. It's part of the joys of baking. You're going to get a little messy. Working in the kitchen gets messy, and you tend to get a bit messy too. There should definitely be enough cherries now. I mean, it's not going to be a heaping cup, but it'll be enough to put those splashes of red color in there and the flavor. And keep feeling like I should get one more, but this is probably sufficient, I would think. Yeah, do one more. I can never seem to help myself. Do two, and that'll be the last two I do. Okay, so I've got my 1 cup of maraschino cherries. Add those to the dry ingredients. Stir that in. And then I'm going to pause this while I get a little bit more coconut from downstairs to add. And then I will stir that in, and then we can add this to our wet ingredients. So I will be back in just a moment. Okay, we're back. I found a little more coconut downstairs. It is unsweetened. I have another full bag down there, but it is also unsweetened. So this is just gonna have to do, it's just basically maybe a 1/4 cup, if that, to top this up of unsweetened. The rest was all sweetened, so it should be fine. There is sugar in the recipe, there's banana, there's maraschino cherries, those are quite sweet. So that little tiny bit of unsweetened coconut should not be an issue, I don't think. Okay, now, I think it's just a matter of adding this in here. Pour over batter. Okay, here we go. This is a bit of a process. Just don't want it to spill out of my mixing bowl. Stop here. Some on the counter, of course I do. There's always got to be a little bit that gets out of the bowl. It's just flour though, so I'm going to put it back in. My stuff on the edge, get as much in as I can. Why am I wearing all black? I'm going to end up with flour all over my clothes, but that's okay. Cooking and baking tend to be messy, right? So. It's pretty well mixed. Let's get the rest in there, or some more. Do one more third after this to get it all in. And of course I got flour all over the outside of my mixer, and that's fine. Okay. And the last little bit. I'm dusty now. That's okay. Okay. All dusty. My fingertips are red from the cherry juice. Fun. Okay, I'm going to take those pans out of the oven and preheat. It says preheat it to 350 degrees, so that's on that side too. Oven is preheating. Tiny last little bit of flour in here, just in case. And I'm going to take a spatula and clean off the sides of the bowl too. Okay. All right, now clean this off a little bit. I gotta dig my 2 glass mixing bowls out and spray them down. I usually, instead of oiling them, I use pan spray. Whatever works, so long as they are greased. I'll let that stuff drip off the beater a little bit, and then I will get that into the pans. Well, ovens have to preheat anyway, so. used a couple days ago. They've been washed. Everything looks good. Okay. All right, spread these guys down well. And I know some people use butter or oil to grease their pans. I quite often just use my pan spray, again, as long as they're greased well. And I don't usually have trouble getting my loaves out of pans doing it this way, so it's fine. It works for me, so whatever works for you. If you prefer to do oil or butter, that is totally fine. And now my kitchen's a giant mess, but it's well worth it. So I'll put the spatula here. Take this beater off in a second. I'm trying to get anything off of it that's of substance. See that cherry piece there. Get some batter off of here. Get as much of that batter into the bowl as we can. Don't really want to waste it. I have made this before. I find it to be quite good. So it depends if you like this or not, or if you like just your plain banana breads, then that's fine too. You stick with what works for you. Use the knife to get some of this off. It's a knife I was using to level my sugar and flour, so it's okay. It still gets warm in here. Okay, I'm gonna stop there for a moment. Next pan, this is the slightly larger pan. More batter in this one. It's the slightly smaller pan, but I still want to have them both reasonably full, or 2/3 or what have you. Oh, dropped a bit of batter on the counter. These fairly level. I can't make them 100% even because they are not quite the same size of loaf pan, but that's fine. Just do the best you can, eyeball it. Okay. And then we're going to get a little bit of batter up right there. Now, pretty good, pretty full. So I'm going down the outside of that pan. Okay. Guys to settle in here a little bit. A little bit on the counter. I do have a few stains from the cherries I'm going to wipe off the counter, and it's probably going to have to be something where I spray some fantastic on it after, because that maraschino cherry juice stains. Okay, so I'll be back once the oven is preheated. I'll get these in the oven. Got 2 loaves ready to go. And it does say to bake them for, let's see, how long does it say to bake them for? About an hour at 350. So depending, sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it could be an hour and 5 or an hour and 10. We'll just see how it goes. And again, the two pans are slightly different in size, so one may take just an hour, one may take a little bit longer. But I will get these in the oven as soon as it's preheated, and I will come back and show you the finished product once they come out of the oven. So we'll see you guys in about an hour or an hour and a bit. Okay, and we're back, and here you have the finished product. We have two fully baked banana coconut loaves, and as you can see, like I said, the two pans are slightly different in size. So one took a few minutes longer in the oven than the other. They both definitely took more than the 1 hour that the cookbook recommends, but I remembered that from last time. So it just depends on your oven and depends how full the pans are and everything. And you know, if you happen to have just a little bit more than the recommended banana or whatever, you just have to set it for the 60 minutes and then check it and then eyeball it. But they definitely both took a little bit longer than the 1 hour, so that's fine. But these are done and they're cooling, and then maybe one of these will be going in the freezer and then the other one will be eaten by the family. So maybe a little bit later on, once everything's cooled off, if I slice one up, I will show you what it looks like on the inside, because you should be able to see the pieces of cherry inside there. Right now on top, from looking at here, they just look like basic banana bread with maybe you can see some of the flecks of walnuts, but that's it. But once they're cool enough to slice, once they're sliced, you should be able to see the flecks of cherry inside. So that's what would make them stand out on a platter from like a regular banana bread or other squares or whatnot, or other loaves, is that you'd actually see like the little bits of cherry and stuff. So a little bit later on, when they've cooled, and I'll maybe cut up a couple slices and show you how they turned out. I know that it's going to be good because I've had it before. It's usually a very nice moist loaf and pretty simple, straightforward to make. This came from one of the company's Coming Cookbooks, a series that I have most of the titles of, and I really like that series. They're very easy to follow directions and easy to find ingredients for the most part as well. Anyway, so I will stop this for now, and a little later on, once this is cooled and I have some sliced and on a plate, I will show you how it looks. Okay, we're taking a quick break from coconut banana bread to show you tonight's dinner or supper. I decided to make a spice rub. As I think I might have mentioned this earlier in the video, that I got a chicken going in the crock pot and I made a spice rub using garlic powder, paprika, the keg chicken and rib sauce, or keg chicken and rib spice rather, and roasted red pepper spice and a couple other spices, and rubbed it all over the chicken. And then I cooked it all afternoon on low in the slow cooker or crock pot, and I just took it out now. Looks pretty good. It's always tastes really good, I find, and there's some leftovers usually. So that is that. And then in one of my recent grocery hauls, I bought the Cheetos mac and cheese, and I decided to make that tonight to go on the side. So that is dinner. That is a very simple supper. I'll probably pull out some sugar snap peas or cucumbers to have on the side with it. And that is dinner. Meanwhile, the kitchen's a little bit of a mess, but I have to let the crock pot cool now. That's the leftover juices from the chicken. I got some dirty dishes. The dishwasher is full of clean stuff, so I'm going to have to get that unloaded yet at some point. But in the meantime as well, these guys are still cooling. And as I said, we'll come back a little bit later once they're cool enough that I can actually slice it open, and then you can take a look and see what the banana coconut bread looks like on the inside. You should be able to see the little flecks of the cherries. It's quite pretty to look at, but it also tastes really good. It's nice and moist with all the banana and everything else in it. So anyway, time to dish up supper and then get this kitchen cleaned up and not really call it a day. It's only 8 o'clock at night, but got some laundry to fold and, like I say, kitchen to clean up after this as well. Okay, here's my plate all dished up. Got my mac and cheese, some chicken breast, and some sugar snap peas. So again, I'll be back a little bit later to show you how the banana coconut bread looks and give you my opinion on how it turned out. Okay, well, my loaves are still continuing to cool, but the smaller one of the two is mostly cool. So I thought I would cut a couple slices off just to show you. You kind of see, might even be able to see the coconut in there a little bit and probably the walnut bits. But you can definitely see now that it's sliced, like from the outside, just looks like a regular banana bread. Although you can see little bits of walnuts and stuff. But once it's sliced, then you can see the color of the cherries and stuff. So, and it really is quite a moist loaf. I haven't actually tried this yet, but I have made it before, and I know it's quite a moist loaf, so it's usually really, really tasty. So I'm going to have a little sample right now, just to have a little bit of a snack. And I'll probably wrap this one up and leave this one out to eat, and then this larger one I will wrap up once it is fully cooled. I checked the bottom of it, and there is still a little bit of warmth coming from the underside. So once it is completely cooled, I'll wrap this one up and put it in a freezer bag and label it and pop it in the freezer. And hopefully probably be able to use it next week on the fire hall delivery, or if I have enough other baking, then I'll just keep it in the freezer and use it when we have company, or maybe I'll use half of it on the delivery. I don't know, we'll see. But I'm going to get this wrapped up, and just so that the one we're eating doesn't dry out, and I'll wrap up the other one once it's cool and get it in the freezer, and that will be good to go. It's already almost 10 o'clock at night. I have a load of laundry to go fold, so I'm going to go deal with that and call it a night pretty soon. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you decide you want to try this recipe, let me know how it turns out for you. And if you did enjoy this, please do feel free to leave a comment below. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And if you're new here, please do feel free to subscribe. We'd love to have you back for the next video, whenever that will be. And if you have any other video suggestions for me, of things you'd like to see me make, or what have you, just feel free to leave me a comment to that effect as well. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope everybody's having a great week, and we'll see you next time. Have a good night, everyone.